You've had a couple of new signings this week, Ryan. Luke McCormick and Ryan Hardie, although both well known to the club.
Yeah.
Start with Luke. He's obviously a very well known figure at this club with his previous connections. You know, how well do you know him?
Well, I didn't know much of him, to be honest with you. We obviously done our own work, but again, when you've got, you know, he's top mates with Gaz Sawyer and everyone at the club associated with Luke when he was here, and Kevin Nanskill still close with him, Zach Newton. You know, when I spoke to him on the phone, and he basically told me he'd love nothing better to come back, and that was good enough for me. Again, yeah, he's at the old tender age of 36, but he knows where he is. He's not just coming here to sit on the bench, he's coming here to push Michael Cooper. He's coming here to help Michael Cooper, but also, you know, he's coming here as one or two goalkeepers. And then when we had the opportunity, I know he was offered a contract at Swindon, and as I've said all along, we want good people at this football club, and we feel we've brought a legend back to the club, not just because of his status, but because of what he can do in goals. You know, you look at the stats, when I presented to the board the stats and what we wanted, it was a no-brainer. And yeah, we're pleased to have him. Again, he's going to be valuable for us, not just for the football club, but ultimately he's going to be valuable for his teammates because he's a leader.
Is Michael Cooper going to be the first choice, or is it an open competition?
Yeah, you can't. You know, I don't like to sit here and say, oh yeah, Michael's going to be the number one. He's got a great opportunity to do that, but so's Luke. You know, the experience, what Luke brings is massively important for us. He knows where he's at. He knows where he's at in his career. He's still got plenty to offer, and that was one of the first things he said to me. But Michael Cooper's a young keeper who we feel can go to the top. So, you know, we've just, when I say just, we feel we've helped one get to the Premier League in Alex Palmer, because he was terrific for us. And I do sincerely hope that he gets an opportunity, whether it's pre-season, whether it's number 2, number 3. He deserves that opportunity to go and do that, and we've got big plans for Michael Cooper, the same way as we have plans for Alex Palmer. But I think with me, my coaching staff, everyone associated with the football club, and someone like Luke McCormick helping him get where we feel he can get to, is valuable for us.
Luke will be a fantastic mentor for Michael Cooper.
Yeah, but and that's it. You know, I spoke to Cooper and told him, and he was like, I said, you know, he's coming back, and he said no. He said, I've got an idea, but I didn't want to tell me. And I went, go on. And then when I told him it was Luke, he was like, a big smile on his face, because he knows that. Well, we have to be careful with that department, and because it's all right bringing someone in who someone maybe, I'm not saying Mike would do this, but a keeper go, yeah, he's easy and we can brush him off. Whereas last year Alex couldn't brush Michael Cooper off. He was on his toes 24/7 training. The lads had seen it and already seen he was on the money, Michael Cooper. And we feel Luke can do the same with Coops, but also Coops has got to do the same with Luke. So whoever's in, whoever gets there, they've got good competition between them two good goalkeepers.
Ryan Hardie coming back looks like a great piece of business for the club on a season-long loan. You know, how do you feel about getting him back?
Yeah, listen, wonderful. Over the moon. You know, I spoke to Ray all through pre-season. You know, he was chomping at me for his medal. He couldn't come down when we had a bit of a medal celebration. He wanted to, you know, his missus is pregnant and he had other things going on. But again, I spoke to him. I was in close contact with him. And look, Ryan, when you come somewhere and you love it and you like it and you score goals, you want to do it. But we had to obviously respect Blackpool, and we thank them as well for it. Ben Mansford, the CEO, and Neil Critchley, the manager. You know, Ryan's been in there, he's been firing, he's been fit, as you've seen. The way he looks, he's been scoring goals, and they liked him. But ultimately, it was a case of he had to fight for his place there, like he does everywhere. But again, you know, he's going to be one of our main signings and one of our main strikers, hence we wanted to bring him back.
There was talk of a permanent deal for him, but it's ended up on a season on loan. Were you keen to get a permanent deal done? Yeah, we was, but again, Chris, there's no money around, is there? It's tough, and you know, that's why, you know, fair play to Blackpool, we've had to stump up a little bit more money in terms of, you know, because we couldn't basically borrow one of their players and not pay a lot of money. We had to make sure the deal was right, both parties, and to be fair, Blackpool were different class. You know, I do have to mention, you know, my agent in that as well, because he looks after Ryan, and he was part of the deal. He wanted to bring him here back to here. He had plenty of other opportunities to go through the League 1 clubs and League 2 clubs, but you know, he knows what we're doing, knows the style of play. So really pleased to have him back. Yeah,
look, we'd love to be able to buy Ryan Hardie eventually, but in these circumstances, it's quite tough.
I was going to ask you, because he was linked with you a lot in the summer, but I would have thought after how well he did for you last season that other clubs would have been interested. That was the case, but yeah,
right. Plenty, yeah. That's why I said, my agency. It wasn't just a shoe-in that he would sign for you.
No,
we had to look. His missus is ready to drop as well, so we've had to let Ryan go back up now because he's penciled in to have the baby in a week or so's time in Blackpool, and we've had to make sure we do it right for Ryan and his missus, because it's the first child again, and we've got to make sure that when they come back down, we put them in a house and they're settled, and we'll do that. We've got a fantastic PA in Ellen who'll make sure that's right, and fantastic staff that'll help his missus and him when he's down here, and so will we. But yeah, it was a competition out there for sure, but again, I think once he knew where he was at with us, and once I said he can have the number 9 jersey, he was down in a flash.
He did seem quite pleased about that from the comments he made. Is there a recall clause in the loan, so he can't go back at any point during the season?
You should know me better than that, Chris. I won't have anything like that. No, there's not.
So he will be out of all
season long.
Okay. And am I correct in understanding that he would not be able to play against Blackpool? Was that the rule?
I asked him that yesterday because I thought we might have got away with it, but listen, Ben Mansford at Blackpool, he's a clever guy, and there's no chance he would. Even if it weren't in that, from my point of view and my respect for them, I wouldn't play him. Yeah. If it weren't in there for whether it was a mistake both sides, I'd have an handshake that I wouldn't play him against Blackpool because it wouldn't be fair.
Anything happening with George Cooper?
Well, not now. Basically, again, look, we love George. We knew we were certainly would have been interested, but the money that's getting touted around for him is nowhere near our levels, and so we will move on from George Cooper, sadly. But again, there's when one moves on, another one comes, another door opens for someone. We've got plenty of other targets. As I've said, we would have liked to do George, but we will certainly have to move on now because Peterborough will ask him for too much money and we just can't afford it, especially in the climate. But again, if something materialises down the line, then that may be something to look at, but for the time being we're certainly out.
Tariq Bakinson was another player that you said you'd be interested in bringing back. Have you talked to Bristol City at all about him? Or?
Well, it's hard at the moment because they haven't got a manager, so we've got to make sure we wait. Listen, Tariq was fantastic for us, and Bristol and everyone else knew that, what he'd done for us. He was a fantastic player, but again, he's Bristol City's player, and we've got to respect that. Would we like to bring Tariq back? Yeah, 100% would. Would he like to come back if he was made available from Bristol City? Yeah, I think he would. But again, we have to respect the circumstances and the situation Bristol City in at the moment, and we've got to make sure that, when the time's right, whoever goes in and whatever happens, then we can maybe have a conversation with them.
Callum McFadden, what's happening with him?
We get good news, then we get bad news, don't we? No, Fads will move on. I think we've obviously. I need to draw a line on it. I've spoke to Fads and his agent quite a bit. He is desperate to stay down in North West with his young baby, which we appreciate again and respect that. So again, our movement now looks towards a left wing back, left-sided centre half for competition. So we wish Fads all the best. He won't be coming back to Plymouth Argyle.
Okay, and that obviously is an area of the squad that you'll be with. Maybe George not coming back as well. Presumably, is that one of your priorities now to try?
It will be, yeah. Listen, it depends because at the moment we've got Gaz Sawyer there, who was terrific there last season, and obviously we've signed young Ryan Lowe, who's come back in good shape, and we look at Ryan Lowe and you think to yourself, he's got a great left foot, and he's 6'1". It's a perfect type of player you're looking for to play left wing back. So we'll give Lawsy the best opportunity to come in and play games and do well. But yeah, again, for balance and for the squad, we will be looking down that left hand side. I'll have millions of agents ringing me now, won't I, after today when you say left side of players. But again, that's what we need to do. We need to make sure we look for a player of Fads' calibre, or better, or we've got to make sure we get something. We've actually got a trialist coming in, a left wing back next week, but I'll give it his name next week. So once that's all sorted, we'll have a trialist come and join us from a championship club, who we'll have a look at as well down that side. So we're on with it. We know where we're at. We know we need to strengthen. We just have to be careful that we get the right one. Know what I mean?
Looks to me like you've got about 19 pros at the moment. How many more signings are you looking to make? What sort of score? You mentioned the other day, sort of 18, 19, 20.
Yeah, we're in discussions. We're in discussions with. We've got a contract offer out now to another player, so we're in discussions all the time. Chris, the phones, honestly, it's non-stop. I'm actually, Neil's taking a bit of the brunt as well, and Shuey this year, because I've wanted them to, and they can take a few calls. But we are actually on with it, but we're quite busy. But again, we don't just, we've got our targets. We'll put it out there. We don't want to be. We don't want agents to be batting us off against other clubs, so we've sort of tried to go in and say, look, this is the deal, we'll give you 24 hours, and look, if someone come back to me and said I need an extra 24 hours because family discussions and whatever, that's fine. But what I don't want to get into is, I don't want to get into the bartering competition with an agent about, well, we're going to offer them this and we're going to, you can only offer them that. Well, fine, if you want to go with the money, then fine. If you want to go to the football club that's well equipped and plays good football, then I know where I'm going. But we can't make that decision for the players. We've got to make sure that the players understand what we're about, where we are, the structure we have in terms of wages and the policy going forward, and what we're about. If you want to jump and go play for someone else for an extra few £100, but you might not play, or you don't play the type of football you think you're going to play, then that's fine. We'll look to the next candidate. But for us, we want to make sure we do things properly.
How difficult a market is it to play a market to work in at the moment with the finances because of COVID and what?
Yeah, do you know what? It's not. It's okay, to be honest. I think you still. A lot of people are saying that you might get bargains, and people come down and say, oh, if you're on X amount of money, you're going to have to take X amount less. I don't think that's the case just yet. There's a lot of clubs out there. You've seen yourself. I don't want to name the clubs, but there's a lot of clubs out there who are having a right good go. So it's not affecting them. Are they gambling in such a terms of money that they haven't got, and when the fans come through the door? Possibly. One thing this football club will never do is gamble. We have a fantastic owner in Simon who's very straight down the middle of what we're doing and what we're going to do. And as I said, we're going through phases and stages of signings. Listen, I don't know whether some clubs are gambling just to a quick fix, or we're not going to do that. We're going to wait and make sure we get the right players. But I think the market out there is just as it was. There may be some sort of stuff in the contracts where there's no fans in a certain amount maybe, and whatever. I think that might be a thing that's going forward in terms of in the contracts. But for us, we're finding it quite easy to speak to agents, players out of contract, and we've had plenty of calls to say that players and agents would like to bring the players here. Are some out our budget? Yeah. Are some reasonably priced? Yeah. So we have to make sure we pick the right ones.
You and the players were tested yesterday. Can you sort of tell us what that experience was like?
Not nice, mate. I didn't see they done on my nose. Look, it has to be done, doesn't it? I was dreading it. I was actually on the training pitch, and the testing was going on in the players' lounge, and I just built that courage up. I said, right, I'm leaving you for 5 minutes, I'm going. And I ran up and got sat right in the chair. So to be fair, Kevin Nanskill's wife done mine, Jo, so she was quite soft on me, should I say. But no, again, look, it needed doing. The only worry is with the tests is, some of them can come back inconclusive, negative or positive. Inconclusive is they never got a good enough test on it, so you still have to potentially isolate for 7 days, I think. And then negative is great, everyone's fine, and positive's obviously not so good. But we've done all the right things, we've done all the protocols what were in place, as I said to you before. We're doing the groups training, and it's not ideal, but the lads have come back fit. They're doing the runs, some ball work. I think the end of the week, maybe tomorrow or next week, we have to do 5 days of it. Hopefully tomorrow we get good news, we can bring them together slowly but surely, and then next week when we really put a little bit more football into them. So
when, in an ideal world, when do you hope that you'll be able to do some contact training properly?
Next week, yeah, next week. I think you have to do 5 sessions or 5 days, they say, and you have to keep them apart. And you know what, the lads have been good as gold. We've had like the attackers in a group and the defenders in a group, and we have a good togetherness in our group. and you can see they're they can't do crossovers and stuff. They've got to wait till they've gone out the training ground, or if they're coming in when they're still there a little bit over, they have to go round the top and they come down. They can't really see each other. The slots they've had for the test, and they haven't really seen, the squad hasn't really been together, and we're a quite gelled group, so I can't wait for the time when they're all together, because I think the chopping at the bit, you get one or two comments shouted down or one of the lads, but that's where we are and that's what we want. But it'll be nice when we're all together.
I've got a couple of more questions on my list, but I'll get Alan and Gareth.
Alan, sorry, can I just chop
How are we, okay?
Traffic was a nightmare, apologies.
I used to blame the traffic when I was late for training.
Never normally. Has your phone been busy this summer with agents, or has it been the same thing?
Do you know what, Al? It's been the same, but I got a new number for this season, actually, believe it or not. So, but it's still been busy, because I think there's a lot of agents as well now, and look, we respect all the agents, but there's a lot of agents that are panicking a little bit with players because they need to get the players fixed up, and we get that. It's their job to find the players, clubs and interest and so on. Because of what's happened, it's been a tough time for everyone, hasn't it? And you know, ultimately, you know, these agents are trying to get the best deals for the players, which I fully appreciate, and the players are trying to get employment. So, yeah, we respect them all. We'll listen to the ones that we feel are right for us, but ultimately the phone doesn't stop, Al.
Michael Cooper, Luke Jeff you've got two youngsters who could quite possibly start on the opening day of the season. How important is it for the youngsters you've already got, to see those two coming through and doing so well? Yeah,
well, that's the mantle now. That's what they're like. You know, I mentioned there about young Ruben Wilson and Ollie Tomlinson who've come, you know, and they've found it now. They're with the big boys and they've had to take a deep breath and go, this is going to be tough. But not only them, you know, Lawless has come back in good condition, Ryan Lowe, Adam Randall's his machine, he's, you know, and they've all come back in a shape this year that you look at them and think, right, they're going to give me an headache, and that's what I want. But you know, I'm happy integrating the academy graduates, bringing them up. Ultimately, they've got to be good enough. The attitude, they've got to be good enough, and they are. But ultimately, they've got to perform. And you've seen yourself. I don't care whether he's 15 or 16. If they're good enough and they're doing the job we ask them to do and performing, I'll put them in. I think it's part of me that, you know, I like to give the academy graduates the debuts, which we've done with Jarvis and Ruben and a few others. We'll continue to do that, but they've got to be good enough first and foremost. They've got to be able to listen to what the instructions we're giving them, and if they are, they'll certainly get the opportunity, because I'm not one for shying away from it. I'll make sure that I give them an opportunity. We're talking about Ryan Lowe there. You know, there's no left-sided wing back at the moment. Go on in, go and make it your own, and it's over to him. I'm not saying he's going to, I'm not saying he ain't, but there's a great opportunity for him. If that was me as a player now, knowing that there's no one in that position. You know, as a striker, you always have to fight 4 or 5 strikers for 2 jerseys. You know, there's none down that left side at the moment, so it's over to people like Zalorzi to show us what he's got and make that slot his own.
We now know it's September the 12th for kick-off, although no fans in the ground before the start of October. In a way, would you prefer to start in October like the National League, so you start with fans, or is it?
Yeah. All honesty, I would have preferred to start when fans are in. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit surreal, if you like. It's not going to be something I like. Can we do anything about it? No. Fair play to the Championship clubs and the lads who are in the playoffs, League 1 and League 2. Their teams and clubs, they've handled it very well. Not my cup of tea, I'll be dead honest with you. But in saying that, I want the season to get up and running as quick as we possibly can. I just physically can't wait any longer to play a competitive game of football. So if it means 3 or 4 games behind closed doors, then so be it. I just hope we haven't got Sunderland and Portsmouth and them type of teams behind closed doors, early doors, because they're the type of teams you look forward to playing and pitting your wits against. But again, it's out of our control, mate. We have to respect what the government says. But the quicker the fans are back supporting me, my staff and the team, they'll be better.
Plymouth Life Centre is now going to be closed until April. I know you occasionally use that sort of thing. Is that going to cause any problems or not really?
No, we've actually, I don't think it's been agreed yet, so I can't really say, but we've actually agreed to go somewhere else for the players. But we have Marjohn's, we have our own gym in Marjohn's University, so the lads are fine there. They have a big gymnasium that's just ours on Tuesdays and Thursday afternoons, which we'll continue to have. And then as for recovery stuff and pool work, we've just in the process of doing another deal with someone else now to make sure that we can give the lads the best facilities we possibly can.
Ryan, do you think it'll be a disadvantage to start behind closed doors? Everyone knows that passionate support you get here and away.
Yeah.
Without being disrespectful to other clubs, people always talk about the Green Army and Argyle's fans. Do you think you'll be at a disadvantage, especially if you, like you say, you play those big games behind closed doors?
Well, hopefully we don't play them big games behind closed doors. I'm not sure. I think in some cases, yeah, you've seen, haven't you, in the Championship and even in Germany when it first kicked off and the Premier League as well. And has it been a disadvantage to some? Yeah, possibly. I'm a big Liverpool fan, and with no screaming cop behind them, have they struggled a little bit of late? I don't think they've struggled, but you need that extra man. And listen, the Green Army are the 12th man for a reason. But that'll be my job to make sure I can get the lads up to the task, which I will. Me and my staff will make sure. And again, yes, sometimes you need that extra little bit of buzz or that extra tackle or that extra shot, and then the crowd get a little bit off the seat. But that'll be my job, my staff's job, to make sure that we're motivated from the 12th of September, and I'm sure we'll do that. We'll have to get used to it anyway, behind closed doors. Some games potentially we need to play when we do play some. But yeah, that'll be our job as a coach and manager to make sure that we get the lads fired up for it. So hopefully it's not a too disadvantage.
How tough do you think this pre-season will be because of everything being so much different? Normally you would come back, do some fitness, then some ball work, then play some pre-season friendlies. You've been around football for many, many years, it's always been the same. How tough is this now that it's so different?
Yeah, I was saying before, you got here because you were late. At the moment it is quite tough for the players as well as us. So we're down on the training pitch from 10 till 2 o'clock on our feet. The players have got to have slots, so they're coming in for an hour, then they're getting some dinner, and then they're going home or sitting in the cars for an hour, and then they're coming back, and then so it's a little bit tough. And as I said, the players want to we're quite a tight group, and the players want to have a bit of banter with each other and get together, and they can't. One group are coming off the pitch, another one's coming on, or if there's a bit of a crossover, they've got to walk down the top pitch and they go out and they come down, and so we can't wait to get them together, to gel them together, because that's one of my biggest fortes. We like to, togetherness is key for us, and that's not just the players, it's the players and the staff. We have a good bond with each other, and we have great banter, but when you're working, you're doing your job. And in terms of then, after that, next week we can hopefully have full contact training, and then we'll plan for games. I think planning for games we're still going to do. There's some protocols in place where teams have to be tested before you play them, or they've got to be tested. So we've got to make sure that the teams we're looking to play have all been tested. But the pre-season in terms of games won't change for the players, because they'll still get the minutes in and the volume in and the games. But the surroundings will change because there'll be no fans here.
This is probably going to be one that you answered already, so apologies again. Luke McCormack, what does he bring to your squad?
I said before, yeah, listen, he brings a wealth of experience. He brings, he's obviously a legend of this football club. When I spoke to Luke about bringing him back, he was chomping at the bit to come. He'd had a deal off Swindon on the table, and it was a no-brainer for him to come back. As I said before, he ain't just come back to sit on the bench, he's come back to fight for that number 1 jersey, albeit, we want Coops to try and take that, and then, Luke to support him and help him and guide him, because we feel Michael Cooper's going to be one of the best goalkeepers in the league, potentially in the country, because he's got the attributes to do that. But yeah, look, again, I've said before, we want good lads, good people. He knows the football club inside out, so it was a no-brainer for us to bring him back.
Is it more for Mike Cooper's development? So you had 2 young, relatively inexperienced goalies last year. Is it sort of a little bit of a change of mindset that you felt you had to bring someone in with experience to help you?
Yeah, well, what I didn't want to do is, I said before, with Coops, Coops was just as good as Alex Palmer last season, behind the scenes, because he pushed Alex Palmer to the best of his ability, and I had to remind Alex Palmer, he's on your tail, he's coming. The minute you come off your game, whether it was 1 game or 2 games, probably 2, I'd never just leave him out after 1, I'd always give him the next 1. and he knew. So as good as Zach Palmer was for his last season, Mike Cooper was just as good behind the scenes, what no one's seen. Us as coaching staff and me as the head coach manager, whatever you want to call it, is that, you know, I knew he was ready. So again, this season we've had to make sure with Coops, we bring someone who Coops doesn't just dismiss. And you can't dismiss Luke McCormack because of what he's done, where he's been. Yeah, he's at a tender-old age of 36, but he's still top goalkeeper. His stats and everything else add up. So for us, we need to make sure it was a good mixture. Yeah, we could have brought a youngster in or someone on loan or signed another permanent. But what we didn't want, I'm not saying Mike would have done that, we didn't want Mike looking down to say this is going to be an easy ride, because Alex Palmer didn't look down at Mike Cooper to say it was going to be an easy ride. We need to make sure that we had someone in the wings, and look, that's no guarantee Mike's going to be number one. It's potentially his jersey to lose, yeah, but we know he'll look back at Luke McCormack and think, I need to be on my game every game, otherwise he's next in line. So they were the reasons.
You said about Ryan Hardie, about how there was a lot of interest from other clubs. A big statement of intent that you managed to get him. He was key in the sort of the second half of the season, pushing you towards automatic places. That big statement of intent for the teams you're going to face next season that you managed to time down.
Yeah, listen, and I said before, you know, a big thank you to my agency as well, and you know, they made it happen. Ryan's obviously with them, and thanks to Blackpool really. Ryan's been back and back. I spoke to Neil Critchley throughout the summer, and I spoke to Ben Mansford, their CEOs. Two of them are good guys, you know, and they wanted to make sure that was the right deal for them, and we respected that. Last year was different. Ryan dropped down a league to get back playing, and one thing I did say to Ben Mansford last season is, which I thought was going to kill the deal off really, was I said, look, I'll make him a better player, I'll coach him to be a better player, and then you might be able to sell him and get your money back for him if he's not wanted. So I thought it was going to come back to burn me when I said to him that I want him back again, because we did make him a better player. He did score goals, he come in a team that played football, and then when we asked for him back he said, yeah, but it'll cost you. So we had to make sure that we'd done the right thing in terms of with them, they didn't lose money, and you know, we had to pay for what we're getting, and we're getting a top goal scorer in Ryan Hardie. So to fight off other competition from other clubs was vital for us. But again, I think Ryan knew what we were at. He'd had a couple of seasons where he was in and out the team with different managers, didn't really rate him. Neil Critchley does rate him at Blackpool, but again, Ryan wanted a bit of assurance that he's potentially going to be given the opportunity to play more games than not. And when I told him he'd be getting the number 9 jersey, I think that swayed him to make sure. But again, he loved it here, and we're pleased to have him.
George Cooper, you said it's dead in the water,
yeah.
It's not going to happen. How big a hole does he leave in your team, especially for the number of assists he got last year?
Listen, again, and look, I've got a great relationship with George Cooper, but how big of a hole did Ruben Ramirez and Graham Carey leave, and how big of a gap is Sars going to leave? We've got it. That's my job, to make sure that we go and get the next best one, and we'll do it. You know, I'm not sitting here saying we're going to go with the best this, the best that, but we go and get someone who we feel can fill in there, and we coach them to the best of our ability for them to go in and play that type of football. Again, you know, I think if you look back at the players we've sort of regenerated the careers a little bit, if you like. You know, we've done it before. We've done it with Nicky Maynard at Bury, Jordan Roster, Neil Dans. You know, we've done it with, although Sars was still a great player here, he had one of his best seasons here last season. George Cooper was out in the wilderness at Peterborough, hadn't done anything. £300,000 sign. That's no respect to George. We got the best out, and Ryan Hardie's the same. We know how to get the best out of these players, and we look for the next one. Look, as I said before, it's dead in the water because we can't pay any monies. Would it be dead in the water for something to materialise up and down the line, whether it be a loaner? I don't know, that would be down to Peterborough, but for us it's a case of we'll move on from George Cooper now because we have to. We need to make sure that we get a good enough player who can fill that void if needed.
You said about the opportunity for Ryan Lowe because Callum McFadden is going to move on. Ryan Lowe you're giving Ryan Lowe that opportunity based on what he did at Truro last year.
Yeah.
Are you going to look to send some of your younger players out on loan to places like Truro again next season? Yeah, well,
to be fair to Ryan, what I didn't say before as well, Chris asked me, is we haven't given Ryan the best opportunity as yet because we never coached him last season. So this year he's going to get the best coaching from me and my staff to give him that best opportunity. So Ryan didn't know us. He knew the style of play. He played with us in practice matches and whatnot. He was never really, in all honesty, in the starting 11 or the starting 14, 15 players who we'd swap round. So he didn't have that opportunity to tell him what we wanted, how we wanted, what position he's going to be in, where we want him running, where we want him tracking back, where the passes need to go. And he never had that little bit of relationship with a Danny Mayer or a Conor Grant or whoever played a George Cooper. So we're going to coach him and we're going to give him the best opportunity to do that. Because he did go to Truro last season and was a young player there and scored a wonderful couple of goals and goal of the season. So it's only fair that I, as the manager, give him the opportunity and coach him into that role. But we'll certainly do the same as well with young Ruben and Ollie and Jarvis potentially. We'll potentially look to get them out on loan because we feel it's good grounding for them. The bigger clubs send their players to us, so we want to potentially help the non-league teams out as much as we possibly can and send the kids out to wherever we feel is going to benefit them and benefit us.
Just finally, you're going to get the opportunity to manage at League One level. You would have had that opportunity if the situation at Bury perhaps had panned out differently. Something you're looking forward to, test yourself at a high level? Yeah,
listen, as a young manager, I want to be the best I can be, and I want to manage the best clubs I can be at. I'm certainly at a great club in Argyle now. Yeah, I have got ambitions of taking this club where the promised land, if you like, but you also have ambitions to manage and coach at different levels. That's not just me, that's every young manager or every manager in the country. We know it's going to be a tough league. There's some great managers in there and some great football clubs, but it's one way of going in that we're not just making the numbers up, we're going to give it a right good go. We're going to play a brand of football and a style of football that I implement into my players, me and my staff, and a brand of football that excites, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Cheers, Ryan.
Cheers, we'll be happy.
And last one, more than 2,000 season tickets sold on the first day. I'm sure that it's still going on.
Fantastic.
Well, what's your reaction to sort of the big interest in season tickets and wanting to see your team next season?
Massive, and listen, we thanked them. I think there's Nicky says there was 3,500 yesterday, was there?
Yeah, there's now 60% of those that had season tickets last year have already renewed.
60% already renewed, 3,500.
Which is fantastic. And again, look, I think that's because this football club for me is, we'll say it certainly is a League One football club. Yet people will say, oh, it's a Championship club, it's a sleeping giant. Yeah, it is, but we're actually a League One club at the moment, where I feel we certainly belong for the time being. And I think, them seeing ticket holders and the fans who are buying them, credit to them, but credit to us as well, because they've seen a brand of football last season what they've never seen here before in a long time, and along with yourselves have said it, and they're excited to see that again, and they're probably excited to see where we go with it. As I said before, we're not in it to make the numbers up, we're in it to give it a real good go, and I think the fans see that. They've got faith in me, my staff and my players, but ultimately I think they've got faith in the football club where it's going. It's on the right track, and I think keep buying more. Come on, let's get to 6,000 as much as we possibly can, as quick as we can, because ultimately also I think there may only be season tickets allowed to start off with in the ground, so first come first serve. But no, look, we know it's tough times for people out there now. People are potentially losing their jobs on furlough and only getting 80% of the wages, and we thank you for it, because without you it wouldn't be possible. So continue to support me and the lads, and we'll certainly pay them back.
Really appreciate you spending so much time to talk to us today, Ryan. Thank you.